Arenberg is one of the most significant wineries in McLaren Vale. It's been in the same family now for 4 generations. The legacy of Arenberg started when Joseph Osborne purchased the original vineyards in 1912. He actually worked for the great pioneering wine company, Thomas Hardy and Sons, but was prompted to purchase his own vineyard when doctors advised that his son Frank's poor health would be greatly improved by life on the land. Situated in the hills 4 kilometres north of the township of McLaren Vale, the climate is Mediterranean, with cool, wet winters and long, dry summers. Fruit from the initial 96 acres was sold to local wineries, but Frank commenced construction on his own cellars in 1927, with the first vintage being released the following year. The famous red stripe appeared in 1959, when third generation Francis Arenberg Osborne, universally known as Darry, took over managing the winery. It's now your 61st vintage. What was the first one like?
Well, it was pretty old-fashioned, I guess, because when I started in 1943, we had draft horses to work the vineyard and so on, so it was all very tedious, and the old crusher and so on was driven by a petrol Kero engine, not very powerful, no electricity in those days. We had our own lighting plant, but vintage was very antiquated, I guess, and all hands-on, hand press, and forking the tanks out, and we had a couple of pumps, but yeah, it was very old-fashioned.
Many of the vines planted back in 1912 are still bearing fruit today. Although a number of the vineyards have been expanded and replanted, the original vines were preserved and formed the backbone of some of Arenberg's premium wines. Darry, you're a custodian of the old vines.
Well, yes, well, the vines that Dad planted back in 1912, 1916 and 1920, I didn't have the heart to grub them out. They were still bearing, but not very big crops, but very high quality grapes. And as we've realised over the years, the old vines produce very good wine, and so we've kept them all. And we've got Grenache, which we call custodian Grenache as a result, and we've got the Shiraz because of the dead arms that develop on the vines over the years, and they give again great quality grapes, and you know, they don't bear very well, but make lovely wine.
Arenberg's holdings have now grown to 345 acres. Vintage starts in early February and continues through to June for botrytis-affected fruit. Although summer temperatures can be hot, the vines benefit from the cooling influence of St Vincent's Gulf. 4th generation Chester Osborne took over the role as chief winemaker in 1984. Do you consider winemaking to be an artistic process?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. You just get really passionate about it the whole time, and the scientific part of it is really fairly, really just there to make sure there's little edges are working right, but really just tasting grapes for 6 hours a day for 3 months and seeing all the different soil characters in the grapes is where, you know, the art comes into it, and then utilising those grapes in the winery in the little small open fermenters and keeping those parcels separate the whole way through, so you've got like 13 barrels of each, and then tasting them blind and then seeing, oh wow, you know, going, oh, I remember those grapes in the vineyard, they taste exactly like that when you went through that soil, and you see that soil character, and then the art of blending is all of what it is, really, and so it's all artistic. I don't measure anything in the vineyards, and we hardly measure anything in the winery. It's a very natural process, so it's all about art.
The old concrete fermenters and basket press are still in use.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, very important for our scenarios with small batches. But also the submerged cap open fermenters, so the skins are held down inside the fermenter, and it's a very, very gentle way of extracting the grapes. There's no plunging, no pumping over. The only other thing we do is foot tread at about 3/4 of the way through the ferment, just to mix it all up. And then basket pressing, as you can see behind us. And these are really important to the whole system. In fact, we only basket press. Everything we make is done through presses like this. And it's very important because it's really gentle. And all of the grapes that we buy are really low yielding, concentrated, quite tannic, big, you know, lots of character. So the importance is gentleness, whole berries in the ferment, submerged cap fermentation with no plunging, no pumping over, really, really easy, gentle sort of technique.
So what's next for the famous red stripe?
We've already got about 30 different wines as it is, but we're working on the white Rhone theme, so Marsanne, Roussanne, Viognier, still working on those. And then there's the Grenache blends that we're doing, which is Derelict Vineyard, and a Tempranillo Grenache called the Sticks and Stones, which is a lot of fun. They're all big, gutsy wines, you know, something you can really stain your teeth with.
Darry and Chester invite you to experience for yourself the wonderful wines of D'Arenberg at the family's cellar door housed in the original 1850s homestead. Whilst there, why not dine in the highly acclaimed Darry's Veranda restaurant overlooking beautiful McLaren Vale?